preparing for retirement for a very, very long time. So with that, the first question I was asked was, may the Lord guide the words of my lips, and may He filter what it is that might not be helpful, and may He really expound on what it is that might be helpful. So what is retirement planning? That was the first question. And basically, I took it from a planning perspective. What does planning mean? Planning means you being able to define what it is you want, and then putting a plan in place to achieve what you want. So in terms of retirement, ordinarily people say they retire when they grow old. Some people say, like experts, is it Pastor or Elder Marube? Forgive me. Elder Marube. Others who are experts like Elder Marube will tell you can retire at 20, as long as you have generated enough income or you have enough money. So to some, there's not retirement age. But I want to hear what the Bible says. I want us to go with me to the book of Numbers, chapter 8, verse 23. Numbers chapter 8, verse 23. What does it say? And so while we're looking for that verse, we must know that when you're planning for retirement, if we were to go by what a lot of people define retirement to be, you must transport yourself from here, from where you are, the age you are, to a few decades from now. You must transport yourself there and almost picture what life is going to look like for you, and then start putting things in place to support that life. So the Bible says in chapter 8, verse 23. Numbers chapter 8, verse 23. If you find it before me, please go ahead and read. If not, I'm still perusing. I think I'm a little bit nervous. It's been a while since I was here. Please go ahead.
So Numbers chapter 8 and the 23rd verse, the Bible says, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, this is what pertains to the Levites. From 25 years old and above, one may enter to perform service in the work of the tabernacle of meeting. And at the age of 50 years, they must cease performing this work and shall work no more."
Maybe let's stop there for now. That from the age of 25, the Levites could actually go and work pertaining the tabernacle. And at the age of 50, they would stop pertaining the work of tabernacle. Why? It involved transporting the tabernacle. It involved lifting it. It involved heavy work, isn't it? So the Bible is saying that at the age of 50, they were told to stop. The Levites could no longer work pertaining the tabernacle. There's a reason why it starts at 25, and there's a reason why it stops at 50. Because those are the years that you're physically able. That's when you have a lot of energy. That is when you can flex yourself. That is when you can do a lot of active work. Retirement sets in, except for that type of a retirement that is based on a financial accomplishment. It sets in when your body begins to cease, lending itself to very, active work. However, the Bible goes ahead to say in verse 26. Proceed.
Okay, verse 26. "They may minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of meeting to attend to needs, but they themselves should do no work. Thus you shall do to the Levites regarding their duties."
So work does not stop. As we're hearing from the Bible here, work does not stop. In fact, the traditional way of looking at retirement is that when you retire, you now cease working. In fact, you notice some people will be talking about how they're going to be traveling the world and they'll take a big break from the excessive work that they have been doing. But sooner or later, that becomes very boring. The way God has created man, and it was very evident in our sermon today, that the old and the young have got to work together. It's because at the age of 50, a new set of skills sets in that the community requires, that the world requires. Today, the things I might say might not be as full of wisdom as Elder Ombeni, would say. Because at a younger age, and we also experienced here in our sermon today, there are certain skills that you have that can only be complemented if older skills set in. So we are not stopping to work. The Bible is saying that we will need to continue working, but differently, not in active generation of income, but in other ways. And that is what we need to figure out. How are we going to plan for that retirement so that we usher in the new skills that come with, later years of our life, and be able to use them to continue serving ourselves and serving the church and serving humanity. That is one of the things that we're going to be doing. So up to that point, are we able to almost understand what retirement is all about? If God gives us a long life, we shall all pass through that. And my prayer is not if, it's when. Because God is going to give us a long life, we shall all go through that, and we need to prepare when we are younger. I know this was a young professionals afternoon, but I can see others who are a little like my age. So I'll try and mix the two. I had prepared for the young ones, but I'll try and mix the two. So the other question I was asked to prepare for is, why is retirement planning important? It is important because of that one thing, first of all, I've told you, that there are two seasons in life, the season of you being young and the season of you being a little older. And there are skill sets for each season. So we want to prepare so that we can take advantage of that. As we grow older, I'm not the same person I was when I was 20. I don't make the decisions the way I do this season like I did in the year 20. I've grown older and wiser and better. And so God wants us to take advantage of that. And on top of that, why are we planning? Because again, age diminishes effectiveness, so to speak. I was telling my friends the other day, the way I used to run a few years ago is not the same way I'm able to run now. And the issue of life begins at 40, for me, it's a hoax because my knees now hurt and I cannot run as effectively as I could. I can see some white hair has set in all over. I try to color it once in a while, but over and above that, there are so many other benefits that I am drawing out of me growing older. So the things that I could lift, I could go to the supermarket and carry heavy things for long distance. Perhaps now I'm not able to carry as many as I could long distance. The shoulders begin to hurt and all of that. So age diminishes effectiveness. You must know what will be valuable in what season. The same thing I've been talking about. Right now, I can be able to plait people's hair. I can plait hair and make some money. Later years, I might not be able to plait hair and make money. Right now, I can make certain decisions to invest based on my season. Later on, I may not be able to make those similar decisions, and we shall see how. So, and then also to avoid premature deaths and inconveniencing self and others. What we have seen when people retire, some of them, a majority of them, because of lack of preparation, a lot of them almost die a few years later. There's statistics that show that. Why? Because they didn't plan themselves. Why? Because they expected a retirement is a one big holiday, only to get there and realize that it's not one big holiday. It can get boring and you can begin to diminish. So you need to prepare so that you are not prematurely dying, and of course inconveniencing yourself because you don't have enough to take care of your old age when you cannot actively generate income, and equally not convenience others. We have seen that a lot of the young people are caught up in taking care of their old parents who are never able to prepare for retirement. So that's very important. The other thing I was asked to talk about was factors and tips to consider when saving for retirement. So I took some tips. Like I've said, I'm going to give you tips from how I have applied my life. And my life has been an application of what I have studied in the Bible, of the interactions that I have had with my peers, interactions I have had with my parents, those who I call parents are older than me, and of course my networks and my mentors and my coaches. So I'm going to apply all of that. Number one, in order for you to start preparing for retirement, first of all, let me just make a disclaimer. I know the young ones who have just started working are wondering, should I really be thinking about retirement? Or should I first be thinking about owning a home, owning a car, getting married, taking my children to school, and all of that? I know you're wondering now, that would be very conflicting for me to be thinking about 3 decades from now. But I want to say it's very important for you to be thinking about 3 decades from now. Even if not at the forefront of your mind, but at the back of your mind. And I'll tell you why. When we're told to write a vision, when we're told to write a vision down and put a plan together, is a vision for... The vision is for tomorrow, isn't it? So why do we work towards a vision when it's not the present need that we have at the moment? It's the same concept that you apply for retirement, only that your vision is further down the horizon, isn't it? Apply it as you prepare your vision for what it is you want to achieve tomorrow, or 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Take it a little further and think about 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and 30 years from now. Why? Because tomorrow makes you work harder today. When you're able to envision what you want tomorrow, you're able to see, you're able actually to create a better path to get to tomorrow, and you're almost able to anticipate the obstacles that you're likely to come across and begin to work towards them. So it's always very important to have it at the back of your mind, even though you're very young in age. So I would start by, this is for the older folks like us. If you are planning for retirement, saving for retirement, first of all, you must examine your income. You must know how much income do you have? What are all your sources of income? This goes to the older folks. The younger ones, you need to, but now this is a second one to the older folks, but to the younger ones, envision the kind of retirement you want. Envision the kind of retirement you want. Recently, I was telling some of my friends that I went into coaching because I really wanted to help people, tap into their potential, because I believe that God has given all of us immense potential to do immense things. But sometimes we need somebody to help us to walk through the journey to actually tap into those resources that God has given us. So I became a coach because I wanted to help as many people as I could to see that they're resourceful and begin to tap in that. But later on, I realized this is something I could do in my retirement. But as time went by, I felt I needed to add it to do some psychology so that I can use it later. But all this is because I was envisioning. I kept on saying, when I grow older, I don't want to go to people. I want people to come to me. I know it might sound selfish, but I'm just trying to picture my future. How is it going to look like? I want people to come to me, but I want to help as many people as I can. And why do I want people to come to me? Because I'm thinking, later on, I might not even be able to walk in my 80s or in my 90s. It might be a struggle to walk, but people can still come and tap into the knowledge that I have. So what am I doing? I started investing in a course in psychology. Why? Because I want to be ready. By the time I'm hitting, I can no longer engage in active income. I have something that allows me to continuously generate some little income without necessarily being very active. So why do you need to envision? Because you need to figure out, are you going to be working part-time? Or are you going to be holidaying? Are you going to take a big, big party? And if that is the case, you need then to figure out, once you envision that is what you want, and you envision whether you also want to volunteer. There are people who actually leave work and they come fully into the ministry of church. Then, after you have envisioned that, you develop a realistic picture of what financial resources you may need. I keep working on my sheets, on my Excel sheets, because I have a financial plan and a goal, and also it's something that a lot of us sometimes do not know how to prepare. And from where I'm sat, I have at least envisioned how much I might want for me to survive until the age of 90. After 90, I think these children can take care of me surely. Don't you think? Or even the church. Sister White says, Sister White does not advocate for homes for the elderly, by the way. She says that relatives should take care of their old parents. And where the relatives are not able to take care of them, imagine she says the church must take over. So at 90, even if the children are not able to take care of me, this church here, will take over. You'll take care of me. So envision, now begin to put a realistic picture of what financial resources you may need. And of course, based on the current ones that you have. For the ones who are already, into generation of income and investment, and they have some good assets, determine what you have, determine the life you want, establish the gap. Once you have established the gap, begin to figure out how are you now going to fill in the gap. Do you need to invest some more? Do you need to save some more? Do you want to offload or sell some stuff? Or do you want to revisit your vision of how your retirement will look like and lower it a little bit to suit the resources that you have? Those are decisions that you have to make. You have to pray about it. You have to talk to people. You have to engage others so that they can help you walk that journey. Then, of course, once you have established the gap that you have, it's very important to create a good mix of investments. One of the things I have found is, us Kenyans are very good. If people are investing in commercial papers, we all run there, not understanding the risk that is involved. If people are investing in money market, we run there. If people are investing in property, we go and buy plots and buy plots and buy plots. I like what the lady said, that if we have plots that are just lying down there and they're not making you any income, it's a good time for you to invest it in the church. God's investment has got nothing but triple compounded returns. Nothing but triple compounded returns. I have seen it myself. I have experienced it. So we run, if it's a plot, what do they call it? What is this advert? Maguta. Plot Maguta, we all run and go there. But what I'd like to say is that it's very important to have the right mix. Number one, you need to understand what is your risk tolerance. When you're younger, it's very possible to take up investments with high risk because you have the time to buy back, isn't it? But equally, you also can invest in those that are not high risk because, again, you have a very long period to accumulate, isn't it? When you're older, you probably want to reduce the high risk because you could lose everything, isn't it? And you don't have time. So it's very important to appreciate what is your risk tolerance, and then you know where to go. And by the way, risk tolerance is a very individual thing, and sometimes it can actually be caused by your upbringing, your personality, and all of those things. But it is also a journey that you can walk with somebody to sort of change that. I know I have had a chance to invest in high-risk investments, and I have had friends who have not been able to invest in that. And we have walked the journey, and I have seen them grow, a few of those, from very low-risk investors to high-risk investors, and so their tolerance has grown higher. But it takes also a lot of working together. Then number two, you have to understand the time horizon. Yeah, when you're investing or saving for retirement, long-term things are okay. Okay? Long-term things are okay because also if you do short-term, the devil is walking around looking for people to devour, even with their money. The devil is walking around to see where have you cashed in some money and I'll throw in an expense for you. And yet you are thinking you're going to be saving for retirement. So you have to be very careful so that you're not accessing the cash as often as you want, because it will always find a need. So you have as a young person, you have the leeway to invest in long-term investments. Like sometimes we have bonds that are up to 20 years. Yes, but somebody else, like my mother, who is 70 years, might not invest in a bond of 20 years, because then by the time she's reaping the results, she probably will not even be using that money. Then, of course, your liquidity needs. For example, I'm able to invest long term because I'm taking care of future, but I also invest very short term because I have school fees for children to pay. So rather than have my money in an account lying down, which is very rare, I will always have it somewhere that is generating me some income. Meaning, even if I have 50,000 shillings, it will be very rare that you will find it in an account just lying, except it's supposed to buy mboga or maziwa or something. I will always make sure I'm putting it somewhere that it can generate a penny or two, because a penny or two is better than none. And equally, the wise men say that if you take care of your pennies, the pounds will take care of you, isn't it? So those three things are very key. Tolerance of your risk, the time horizon, and of course the liquidity needs. So why am I investing in short term? I'm investing in short term because in a little while I'll be required to pay fees. In a little while I'll be required to withdraw perhaps and come and build the church. In a little while, I'll be required to withdraw. Maybe there's a family member that has an issue like that. But never keep money in an account just lying, except it's in your emergency account. And even emergency account, you need to put that money in a place where you can liquidate it quickly. Then, of course, take full advantage of retirement accounts. I see a lot of young people when they go to the workplace, and that's just normal and okay. You're not bothered about retirement benefits. You're more bothered about, will I get a loan to buy a car? Will I get a loan to buy a house? I need you to know that you need to take advantage of that, because as you're contributing, your employer is also contributing. So it's a way of generating an income. Because if I'm contributing 5% and my employer contributes an extra 5%, that 5% is income I'm generating without necessarily working hard for it. So take advantage of it and take it up. They also have an option for you to increase the amount that you contribute. Like if you're contributing 5%, you have an option to add an extra 10%. Maybe your employer might not add it, but you can. And because it generates an interest at the end of it every year, it's very important to save your money there, and it is secure, it is taken care of, and you can access it decades later. Yeah? I also need you to take advantage of the government one. NSSF now is has added the contributions that we make, and they're also giving an option to increase if you want to. I know, and if there's government officials here, please forgive me, but I know that we could be a little bit skeptical because you feel like the government might not spend the money wisely to get a return. But if you don't have any other option of a private pension scheme, you're better off saving there. And if you don't have the discipline, you're better off saving there either way. Because at the end of it all, I've had people say it's very difficult to get your NSSF money back, but they're still away. They're still away, and it will still be able to help you. So, but we're hoping that as time goes by, we will do better in terms of withdrawing that cash. So take advantage of that and add as you go on. When you're leaving employment, a lot of us have the urge to take part of their contribution. Ati why? Ati because I want to prepare myself for the next job, or because I want to purchase a car, or because I want to start a business. If you can, don't touch your retirement savings unless you're putting it somewhere that is going to generate you extra income. Find out the cost of moving it from your employer to the other employer. There is also an option to see how is your former employer investing the money, and how is this new employer investing the money, and you can choose. You can choose to keep, if the other one has got better returns, you can choose to leave your money there. It will continue generating you. If, for example, the previous employer is giving you an interest of, say, 10%, and your new employer is giving an interest of 6%, you have an opportunity to leave it there, or you have an opportunity to transfer it to your new employer. You all have to make those decisions depending on what are your goals. Why are you saving? Why do you want that interest? Then, of course, as we grow older, now this is for the older people, avoid debt. Try and clear your debts as much as you can, because at old age, debt can finish you. People don't like to take debt. And even the Bible says, I'll make you a lender and not a debtor. But when you can take advantage, there's good debt and bad debt. When you can take advantage of debt to add value to yourself or to add value to your investments, and you have a clear plan of how it's going to pay, and you're sure about the returns, please take advantage of debt. This time round, we're going to get into debt for this church. That is if God does not give us that money. He's capable of giving us without going into debt. It is a good debt because we're coming to build a church and it will be paid back. But there are some debts you take that just put you in a lot of trouble, and they make your older days much more difficult because it's harder to pay them. So avoid debt if you're at least the age of towards that retirement that we've talked about. Then as you're saving, one of the hugest costs in retirement is medical. And to give you a story about my mother-in-law, from 10 years ago, I've been putting money in her account every month without fail. And obviously, I wanted to put it somewhere else that it could generate income, but obviously there's lines that you draw sometimes. But because I needed to support, I've been putting money in her account every month. It's been now 10 years, and now she's bedridden. She's bedridden, and the hugest cost I can tell you is medical. She doesn't need that money for anything else. She's not interested in traveling. She cannot travel. She's bedridden. She's not interested in eating, like exotic foods. She's not interested in any of those worldly things. She's just interested in good health. You can only imagine how that money has come in handy now to support her health. And the costs are huge because sometimes you have to bring in a nurse. Those who are caretakers know. Sometimes you have to bring in the nurse. The cost of medication, all of that is very expensive. So as you're building your kitty for retirement, you must put a very big chunk aside on medical. And that said, I don't want to imagine that you can be oblivious of the fact that you can actually go through old age without problems. It is possible. I have seen people who have gone up to 100 years and never stepped in a hospital. It's very, very possible. Well and good. If you get there and you never have to spend your money, it's still good. You have been able to add value. You have supported the church, you have supported the community, you have supported a lot of other activities. So that is fine. Then, as I wind up on that one, I also want you to know that retirement preparation is not just financial. A lot of us always just think about retirement preparation as financial. No. You also have to plan in terms of your health, in terms of your physical health, and in terms of psychologically. Old age comes with its own problems, and if you are not prepared psychologically well, which you need to start early, because you need to start thinking about it early and coming to terms with it, then you could also have a lot of problems. So as we're discussing financial today, I want you to know that also what you do today will generate results many years later. What you had Elder Koech does, he runs. He's not just running for feel good. I know he runs for feel good to keep him healthy, but he's also working on his retirement. When he's older, he's going to be a stronger man because he's preparing for retirement physically in terms of health in that way. What you eat matters. What you eat will either build you or break you in your later years. What you drink matters. It will either build you or break you. So prepare for retirement also in that way. The other question I was meant to answer was, what options exist for people to invest, for people to save for retirement? There's something I said here before. I think I've said it in one of the panels that I had. And the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. A lot of us do not want to go and acquire knowledge on how to invest. And I tell you, my friends, that knowledge is freely given to us. I've said it before. If you go to a bank and you speak to your relationship manager and just tell them you want to invest in a few products, they will take you through all the products they have in the bank. And that will be your wealth of knowledge from a bank. If you go to an insurance and speak to your insurance manager or a salesperson, and you tell them you want to invest in some insurance instruments, they will take you through all of them because they have... Huh? It's never enough, right? How much is enough, Maureen? Huh? 80% of what you earn. Okay. When it's enough, you're 6 feet under. When it's enough, it's 6 feet under because I have paid school fees, I have paid my bills, I have paid my lunch, I have taken care of my clothing. But here is Elder talking about 50 million to build a church. As I'm driving out, I see some people who are begging for food. As I get to the house, a phone call comes through. Nitumie tu soya bus fare. You know? We were created not for us, for God to operate as vessels here on earth. And his way is to use you to bless others. So when is it enough? When we get to heaven, isn't it? When we get to? So keep doing your thing, but don't chase it. Don't chase it for the sake of self. Chase it for the bigger goal, and things will begin to work out. So for me, that question, that is how I answered it. And then I don't think I had any other question, but allow me to give you tips on what I have experienced on, and this is the final one, on investing, tips on investing, and particularly on stocks, startup companies, you know. Elder, I'm very big on commercial papers, and I always go for the riskiest. My risk appetite is very high. So, and just some of the tips that I have had, that I have acquired, accumulated along the way. If you don't get it, don't do it. If I can't easily explain to you how this pen writes, it's not worth it. A lot of us like to do complex things because you want to be associated with a complex thing. If you don't understand it, don't go into it. It's very high, you will burn. So take good time to understand what it is. If I come and tell you, Diana, I want us to invest into this business, and I'm trying to explain to you what the business does and you cannot get it, take a step back. Try to understand it, and if you can't understand it, just leave it. Many people sell us very structured products. Many people sell us very structured products. Only when you're in it, you realize it is not serving your needs. Why? Because I'm a professional, I work for this company, and my instrument speaks like this. And I can give you examples of many people who have invested. As long as you don't understand it, even if it's a structured product, forget about it. We always go into things without information. With euphoria, we are running towards it, and fear of missing out. Don't. Number 2, don't try to time the market. People who deal with equities and stocks will tell you. What happens is that a lot of us want to time the market and go into it when the value is low, isn't it? That's what we want to do because that is when we can afford it. But in reality, it is highest and best when the prices are high. Because when the value is highest, that is when a lot of investors want to associate with it. And an investor is always comfortable when another investor is investing. And an investor is equally comfortable to divest when another investor is divesting. What we tend to do is Safaricom shares have gone down to 6 bob. This is when I'm buying. Or Safaricom shares have gone down to 6. This is when I'm divesting. You got to be careful about timing. Leave timing for the experts, for the real experts. Because you could be thinking this is the perfect timing just because the value is low, but it becomes the worst because that is when the investors are divesting. And you, because of lack of knowledge, that is when you want to invest. And a lot of quack experts will tell you, this is the good time to buy. Think twice. Not always it's bad, but think twice. Number 3, as much as you can, minimize your fees, especially when you're dealing with stocks. You could end up, constantly trading. If you have a broker or if you have somebody who's helping you with that investment, you will constantly be paying for that. So you have to be very careful to minimize your fees. Equally, when you're going into an investment, check what are the fees. There are always hidden fees. A lot of the things that Elder showed us here, he was very transparent to show us that we will pay. There was a duty, there was conveyancing, there was all of that. Most people don't tell you those things. Then by the time you're investing, you're realizing you're 10% short. So you have to be careful to appreciate every single thing, and as much as you can, minimize the fees. Negotiate with these guys. Negotiate with them. You can negotiate to an appropriate fees so that by the time your investment is getting a return, you're not short a huge amount. Then we talk about diversifying. It's very important to diversify because if you put all your eggs in one place, you could easily lose everything. But I also want to caution you, do not over-diversify. I have fallen